some of the better ones, but that's fine if you can go back to some of the earlier ones, even before I was born.
Well, that's a good thought, Jim. And to go back to La McCarthy, whom I grew up with from the time we were able to walk. His mother and my mother were very, very good friends. We lived fairly close together in the Hell's Kitchen, and we just simply grew together. And ultimately, we became relatives in a sense when La married Ethel, and I married her sister Claire. So after all those years of being so very, very close, here we were, brothers-in-law, so to speak. But when we moved to Baltimore, La and Ethel would visit us once a year in the summertime on this vacation. Their family came along. Diane was born in 1939. Diane, followed by Larry, and followed by Vince, and followed by Marianne Veronica. Immediately after the war, when you could travel as you pleased and the like, I believe it was about 1948 that we rented a place down on the Magothy River. Little shack. Didn't even have toilet facilities in the building. There was an outhouse outside. There was no water. You had to go out and pump the water. But nevertheless, we were on vacation at that time. I think it was just Kathleen and Patty and Diane and Larry. So we had an enjoyable 2 weeks living under those conditions. In 1949, or rather 1948, we went, let me see, no. In 1949, we were going to go back there again when, for some reason or other, we decided against it and just simply spent the vacation around the house. But as it later developed, during our vacation, I had gotten a call to inform me that my brother Johnny had passed away. Well, of course, immediately we made plans to go back to New York. I had a little 37 Ford at that time, the first car I ever owned. During the war, the company totally reconditioned it so that although it had some years on it, it was still serviceable. So we all piled into the car and drove to New York to attend Brother John's wake. So it was a good thing, I suppose, that we didn't go away to our shack on the Magothy River. That was in 49. In 1950, we were looking for a place and found one, I think, on the Seneca River, closer in town. Not very, very comfortable at all. As a matter of fact, we were there for just a week. But we were together. That was always the main thing, being together. Laura and I were great beer drinkers, and gosh, after everybody would be put to bed, we'd sit and drink 2 or 3 hours at a time, settling all the problems of the day. But we were extremely close, Laura and Ethel. Closer than I suppose brothers could be. And we are to this very, very day. We continue to rent places. We rented a house down near, forget the name of the place now, down below Prince Frederick in Maryland. Very enjoyable, lovely home. Laura and Ethel could only stay 1 week because they were moving. For years they had been trying to get 2 bedrooms, and finally 2 bedrooms did open up in their apartment house, and they were obligated to go back. So we were alone for a week. And after that we continued to go to different places on vacation. Whenever we failed to find some place to go to, we would simply wind up taking day trips One of the areas we visited was Gettysburg, sites of the Civil War. And we went there quite frequently, so much so that Law came down one year, he said, "No Gettysburg, please." So, so that was the end of Gettysburg. But we used to spend time up in New York. We went up for the World's Fair, I think it was 1969. Laura and Ethel went away on vacation at that time. They went up to...
1963.
Oh, it was 63, Jimmy just reminds me. But in any event, Laura and Ethel were away, so we had their apartment with all the kids, and very, very enjoyable. But Laura and Ethel, well, we couldn't be any more close, and as I say, so it continues to this day.
To talk about Ronkonkoma?
Ah, Ronkonkoma, that was another place we spent 2 weeks. We were up there 2 years, as a matter of fact. Lovely lake out in Long Island. People are familiar with it, I'm sure. And this would have been
57, 58.
57, 58. Very enjoyable time. So as I say, we were together quite often on vacation. Always, it seemed, on vacation until the children began to grow, and Laura and Ethel started to go up to the Catskills with Eddie and Virginia Kiernan. We went to the Catskills a couple of years. So I could go on, as I say, on these different segments of my lifetime for hours, but what else would you want me to...
Well, I can recall many times when Uncle Art was down, when we tried to hang around the sacred kitchen table with you and Uncle Lar, until you finally booted us out around 10 o'clock. I guess you couldn't stand us anymore. You made us all go, and one time, I guess one of the last years when we got together, Larry must have been 17 or 18, and he finally decided to make a stand and say that he was now old enough to become one of the men that could stick around the table eating cheese and drinking beer. So why don't we just maybe close this segment by talking a little bit about some of the remaining years after, I guess it may have been triggered when the kids basically had flown the coop and job was
Well, how
winding
much
down.
have we
and so
got on
forth.
this tape?
Maybe about another 15, 20 minutes.
Was that all? You mean I've been talking for that long? Well, I will say this, Jimmy, and I have it here in front of me. As you know, the family has received copies of this thing. I have a short treatise on growing up in Hell's Kitchen, and most of what I've related here is reflected in this. Then I've got another segment, let me see, another segment that well, Memoirs of a Half Century of Employment. That's about 21 pages, but in other words, this very much elaborates, as does the Growing Up in Hell's Kitchen, to what I've just related here on tape, so that anything that has not been said here can be referred to this, all of you having copies of it, and just learn what you want to find out about what happened. There's another segment in here, the McCarthys and the Guthries, and again, it's much more elaborate than what I've been revealing here. I've even put together a segment back here, well, family memories, as I referred to it. And family, I mean, I'm embracing all of the different cousins and the like, the Biedenbenders and the Bradys and the Blairs and ever so many of them. And what I did at that time, and this thing is not very long, it embraces about 12 pages, I suppose, but the object was to send this to the different families and suggest that they add to it. And if each family had related their happenings and could supplement